Welcome to a game called Escape from Wormwood. So, my voice ain't doing too good, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get through this, but we will see. Hopefully I can just take it easy, and my voice won't, kill me today. If you saw the last episode of whatever I played yesterday, I wasn't as talkative as normal. So, Escape from Wormwood. This is made by the same person who made Lonely Wolf Treat. So, this, I believe, deals with the cult that we encounter at some point. The mouse cult. And you saw the content warning at the bottom. Blood, gore, this is gonna be a heavy one. When you come to, you're in a strange and unfamiliar dark room. Your stomach aches and you feel nauseous. Thick ropes bind your chest tightly, but they aren't the source of your pain. You remember now. Several days ago, you left on a research expedition into the rainforest with 2 of your colleagues. Forced to do a little foraging on the way back, 3 of you ingested some berries. You're sure now were poisonous. If you remember correctly, the berries were poisonous. But not so poisonous to kill you, poisonous enough to knock you out, and then the mice come and pick you up. Your colleagues sit beside you, unmoving. Air smells like metal. Metal as in blood, or metal as in the room's actually made out of, like, iron or something, so it's rusty? I mean, blood has the same kind of smell. Let us check surroundings. Squint hard, willing your eyes to adjust to the lack of light. You almost guess that it must be late in the day, maybe even night. If not for the stream of light, facing a single doorframe. A small window sits in the upper center of the door, papered over with grime and dust. The bars over it remind you of a prison cell. The room itself is rather sparse. A large wooden table stands in the far corner, against the wall, near the door. Beside the table is a pile of things. You can't tell exactly what this pile consists of, but it might be your belongings. The floor beneath you is damp with dark puddles that your mind refuses to register as blood. These puddles ebb towards a grated drain. If you were to vomit, which you feel very inclined to do, you guess it would be the drain as well. Think about how you got here. To help stave off your panic, you try to think of everything you know for certain. You're an anthropologist. You came to a foreign land to study ancient civilizations and learn more about the various cultures in the region. Accompanying you on your journey is a fellow researcher whose work you've admired for years, and a cultural expert who was supposed to act as your translator and guide. Unfortunately, this expert had faked his credentials, leading you to believe he was far more knowledgeable than actually was. Soon enough, it became obvious he had gotten the 2 of you completely lost. Then there was a physical altercation that resulted in losing the bulk of your supplies. 3 of you now, fighting for survival, had decided to risk ingesting what seemed like perfectly safe berries. You succumbed to their poison, lost consciousness, and woke up here. Try to wake the others? Pete, Pete. You whisper urgently to the witch beside you, but she doesn't respond. Squirming against your restraints, you attempt to lean your head on her chest to listen for a heartbeat. In a few moments, you're sure you can hear one, faintly despite the distracting pounding in your own chest. The current state of the rat beside her is something you won't be able to confirm for yourself. The door suddenly opens, startling you back into an upright position. You shut your eyes tightly to shield them from the harsh daylight. A masked being has entered the room. They approach, your eyes remain locked on them the entire time, but they move past you and over to the rat. Their stature is that of a child, but that's typical for a mouse, you think. When they pull out a knife, you pray that it isn't a child at all. And when they lift the rat's arm and glide their blade down it, you pray that it's a sadistic adult acting alone. Because if they're a lone murderer in the jungle, that gives you the greatest chance of escape. If it's a child acting within a group, not only do you have no chance, but it's also a horrific and heartbreaking and bleak. As the blood drains from the rat, who doesn't deserve this, you swallow, dizzy, and try to best remain calm. Say something, you fool. Beg for your life, ask who they are, tell them to stop. Who are you? Why are you doing this? You're able to say it firmly, but the mouse ignores you. Let me go, please. I'm just a researcher. I won't report this. I'll never return here. Please, I'll do anything. Of course they can't understand you. That's what the translator was for. But he's not waking up now. The mouse pulls a cloth from their pocket to wipe the knife. Once it's clean, they look to you for a long moment. You think desperately how you can convey to them that you mean them no harm, and that you only want to go home. But instead, the nausea you've been staving off comes to your head, thanks to the inescapable smell of your colleague's blood. You lean forward and vomit helplessly on the floor. It flows towards a drain after all. The ground must be slightly slanted here. The three of you were placed in this room in such a way that your blood, vomit, and any other bodily excretions would go down the drain. They planned for you to bleed for them. They brought you here for the purpose of being drained, and now you only feel more sick. The mouse kneels down in front of you. Their rubber rain boots squeak lightly as they move. When you look up at their face, the mask, they bring the soiled cloth the size of your mouth, dabbing the mess away. You almost believe it was a small kindness, if not for the faint taste of blood on your lips. The mouse seems to study your face for a moment, but you could only stare back in stunned silence. What use are words if this mouse can't seem to understand you anyways? They stand, then open the door to leave. You hang your head as the despair of your situation hits you in a wave. You sit there sobbing in the darkness as you listen to the slow drip of the drain in front of you. Day 2. The witch beside you still hasn't woken up. Pete is much older than you, with a weaker constitution. As a witch, you expected she would be a little sturdier, but apparently not. Being able to use magic doesn't guarantee protection from poison. Her specialty lies in photography, not medicine. She isn't wounded though, at least not in any obvious way. It isn't her blood that stains the floor where you sit. The only one the mouse seems to have cut into so far is the rat, Moss. Think about the witch? Pete is employed by the very same institution as you are. She's well known within her field, undeniably skilled, with decades of experience. You were honestly excited to get to work with her until you realized she was surprisingly old-fashioned, viewing the cultures you studied as uncivilized and beneath her. She exploded at Moss once his incompetence was made clear. You tried to get between them, and your supplies were lost in the scuffle. If she had kept calm, you could have worked together to find a way back to the path marked on your map. You wanted to blame her, but you were angry at the rat's deception too. Morale was completely shot by the time you gave in and tried those berries. Of everything you could have eaten, the berries were. None of you asked to end up in this situation. But the rat. You spend most of the previous night reflecting on everything that happened. At first, it was easy to pin everything on Moss. If you'd hired anyone else, you might not be here right now. There's no question about it. But this job paid well compared to other work being offered in the area. He must have been highly incentivized to lie in order to take it. It's unfortunate that his decision endangered the lives of all three of you, but maybe he really thought of himself as capable enough. At the very least, it wasn't the kind of mistake you believe he should die for, though Pete certainly disagrees. Well, Pete's not conscious anymore. You tried to keep her from killing him, only for the three of you to end up here. Well, it's too late now, and now he's... You can't think about Moss any longer. Think of a way out? You need to think of a way out. It's probably too late for Moss, but if you could just untie yourself and Pete. Well, Pete's unconscious. The ropes refuse to loosen themselves no matter which direction you bend your torso. Without something sharp to cut through the fibers, you'll be stuck like this. You lean your full weight onto Pete again, as you continue to do throughout the night. Pete, please wake up. You hate having to face this alone. Even if this witch were to only offer unpleasant remarks, at this point you'd accept them with full gratitude. The door opens again for the first time since yesterday. The sudden sound of heavy rain causes you to jolt, but you remain frozen, lying against Pete's shoulder. The mouse is here again. Is it the same one as before? Judging by the stature, you imagine it must be. They walk past you and over to Moss. They pull out the knife again. You can't bring yourself to watch this time. You only wish you could cover your ears. That way you wouldn't have to hear the sounds of flesh and muscle parting off his body, pouring out from his severed veins and splattering loudly onto the floor. Why are you doing this? Please. You cry because you can't think of anything else to do. You can't just sit and wait for your turn to be flayed. But you can't move, and the mouse won't listen to you. You sit there, whimpering, until you hear a loud thud. You finally open your eyes to see Moss's corpse, a misshapen lump on the floor. Even in this low light you can tell what once was human skin has become coarse fur. Well, not exactly human. That individual was a rat person. A quirk of animal folk, they return to their... Oh, right, this is a thing. They return to their bestial form upon death. Having forgotten that, you realize he must have been alive and unconscious until now. You remain calm, better remain damn calm. Your mind is racing, but you shut every single one of those thoughts out in order to survive. Moss is dead, but your position is unchanged. You have to escape. The mouse begins dragging the large rat's body across the room, inch by inch. You're breathing hard, but as you watch this tiny mouse struggle to move this heavy corpse, you almost feel bad for them. That's when you finally think of something you can do. Hey, untie me. The mouse stays focused on the task. He's heavy, right? Untie me and I could help you move the body. You almost can't believe what you're saying. Your shaky breath steadies the mouse. You talk more the more you talk. Steadies the more you talk. It's so sad watching you try to move him all alone. Please, can I help you? The mouse stops to look at you. Their masked face sends a chill down your spine. You worry that being able to read their expression would feel even worse. You have their attention. You have to commit to this now. Where are you moving him? Can I help you? I promise I'll help, but I can only do that if you untie me. And you can tie me up again afterwards. Of course, I'll cooperate, please. I just want to help. The mouse steps over the rat's body and kneels in front of you, the same as they did when you vomited yesterday. I'm not supposed to talk to you. Your eyes light up. She can understand you after all. Her voice sounds young and feminine. And this is a child being forced to do horrible things by some monster. You can talk her into releasing you. You have to. It's your only path forward. I won't talk. I'll just lift. It's just so sad watching you. I can't bear it. She draws her knife, and for a moment you think she's about to silence you for good. But instead she cuts through a piece of rope. I'd like to move this to the table. You do as the mouse commands. Day 3. Pete woke up last night. You filled her in on everything that happened. Moss's death, your masked captor. You left out the part where you convinced the mouse to untie you. You pretend she didn't say a word to you. You hadn't said anything more to her either, and even let her tie you up again in the end, as promised. Pete would only scorn you for not putting up more of a fight if she knew. Although she's still rather delirious and weak, she ate the largest share of the berries, now that you think of it. You don't know how much she'll fight back, or if she'll be able to help you at all. Talk to Pete? Pete, are you still awake? Yes. The level of annoyance in her voice is far higher than usual. You imagine she's in a lot of pain. We should try to come up with a solid escape plan, don't you think? That's what I've been thinking of ever since waking up. Do not interrupt me again if you want to live. Doesn't seem like she's willing to coordinate with you. That's fine. It's exactly why you've already set your own plan in motion. You can't depend on each other. But escaping together, if at all possible, would be ideal. You don't like her, but leaving this witch behind would haunt you for the rest of your life. You're sure Moss's death will too. I don't know if I should think about what happened. Oh, this is a mistake. You can't get the images of what that mouse did yesterday out of your head. After hoisting Moss's corpse onto the table, she thanked you before tying you up again. And then she went to work dismembering the corpse. Completely terrified, you tried to keep your eyes to the floor, but that didn't save you from the slapping sounds of meat chunks being stacked into a high pile. Stacked high into a pile. A rat was butchered meters away from where you sat. She cut into his flesh for hours on end. You just sat there and watched. You watched and you wondered who taught this child her technique. You wondered how many bodies she had done this to, how many people she calmly sliced into unrecognizable chunks before now. To what end was Moss flayed, and which one of you was next on the chopping block? You watched thinking hard about these things until the mouse finished her work and carried those pails full of meat out of the room. You wish you could do something to put a stop to all of this. Your ropes aren't as tight as they were before. You tried squirming around again, but you haven't gotten them to budge. Still, they're a little less uncomfortable. Your muscles are stiff from being stuck in one position on the floor. You wonder if the mouse would be willing to leave you untied in this room. The door is locked anyways. You need to earn more of her trust. At the very least, you'd rather Pete be the one to be drained next. The door opens and the mouse enters the room. Let us go. We can pay. Do you understand? Pete speaks quickly in a demanding tone, but the mouse ignores her as expected. What is it you want? Food? Wealth? I won't be made into a ritual sacrifice. We can make this worth your while. The mouse kneels down before the witch and holds a knife to her skin. Pete flails in panic, knocking the knife from her hands. It slides across the floor towards a drain, but it doesn't fall in. Oops. The mouse calmly collects her knife. You're silent, thinking desperately of a way to delay her further. Loam told me all about how you butchered that rat. You collected his meat. For what? Are you cannibals, or do you toss the remains into a pit to appease your god? He falls over where Moss once sat, flailing dangerously again as the mouse takes slow steps towards her. An idea comes to mind. Oh shit. That's a bad idea though. You shouldn't do that. If you thought their deaths are gonna haunt you, doing this is gonna haunt you far, far more. You swallow hard before asking, would you like some help again? Pete stops flailing all at once. You can feel both of them staring at you, but your eyes are fixed on your captor's mask. The mouse nods. Okay. Day 4, we're gonna just skip all that. Pete refuses to speak to you. You try to explain that you only held her down like that as part of your ploy to earn the mouse's trust. and you got results, you convinced her that she didn't need to trouble herself with tying ropes around your whole body. So today it's just your hands that are tied. You've been able to pace about the room, which feels much better than sitting on the hard floor. Your odds of survival are slowly increasing. You don't know that, but you don't worry about Pete's blood spilling down the drain. She's weakened, but still alive. The cut was far from fatal. I don't think you should talk to Pete. Pete's bleeding out. You didn't need to call them savages, you know. Pete gives you a silent glare. It's offensive. If they were city mice, you'd call them murderers, right? So just say murderers. Lone. You are, for once, relieved to hear her voice. Yes. I do not need your lecture on political correctness when I am bleeding out because of you. You purse your lips. Sorry. There's the room. Though you can't do much with your hands tied behind your back, you were able to confirm a few things about this room. 1. There is no way out. The door is locked, the small window in the upper center of the bar of it is barred, and there doesn't seem to be any other exit. 2. The pile of things next to the table does indeed contain your belongings. You thought as much on the first day you woke up here, and you're happy to learn they weren't thrown out or being stored somewhere you wouldn't be able to recover them. You weren't able to open your bag on your own. You're too afraid to move anything too far out of its place anyway. If only your hands were untied, you could dig through your belongings to find something sharp enough to use as, well, a means of escape, either to untie Pete or as a weapon you hopefully wouldn't have to use on a living person. You rack your brain trying to figure out your next move, but it's hard to think on an empty stomach. You've been running on adrenaline these past few days, and your nerves are completely shot. You were, at the very least, given some water yesterday, both you and Pete. They seem to want to keep you alive for a little longer, but you aren't sure exactly why, or for how long. Maybe you'll be able to get some answers today. You decide to make that your goal. The little mouse returns. You move back to your place next to Pete in a show of cooperation. When she kneels down and draws her knife, Pete interjects with a level of composure you're shocked to hear from someone crumpled, bound, and bleeding on the floor. Mouse, you should be cutting him instead. You almost can't believe your ears. How does she expect to have any chance of escaping if you're both weak from blood loss? Why me? The mouse pauses to hear her out. You want to cry. He's trying to trick you. He's gaining your trust a little at a time before taking that knife from you, and you're almost relieved when your little mouse brings the blade down and pierces her flesh. You feel awful about it, but it spares you another day. Can I ask you a question? The mouse cleans the blade against the cloth as she always does. We're not supposed to talk. I just want to know your name. Hearing her call you Mouse, I felt that sad that I didn't know your name. She tilts her head at you as Pete continuously mutters swears under her breath. I should introduce myself first, shouldn't I? My name is Loam. Loam. I'm sorry I don't have a name that I can share. She stands to leave. Is there something I could call you? Something other than Mouse? Pete moans in agony, but you don't let her distract you. You need to keep building trust or else you'll both be killed. The mouse stares at you for a long while before turning away. No. She opens the door, letting in the roar of the heavy rainfall. I'll think of something for you. You yell after her as the door closes. You hope she thinks about it too. Many days are passing. Day 5. Pete isn't speaking to you again, but this time it's because she hasn't seemed to regain consciousness. Her body is alarmingly cold, but you think she still has a pulse. She isn't dead just yet. But you don't think you'll be able to escape with her anymore. You weren't counting on it to begin with, but it would have been nice to not be alone. I'm just gonna say it that way. I didn't read it right. You sigh. Your stomach is tearing itself apart with hunger. Pete's not gonna respond. You know. You address the unconscious witch, well aware that she won't respond. I think you're more guilty for where we've ended up. I've only been making the best of a bad situation. You understand that, right? I'm not some monster who wished for you to die. Her silence pains you, so you try to put her out of your mind. Stretch your legs. You begin pacing around the room. You can't let your muscles atrophy before you can make a run for it. There isn't much space to walk around, though, and the more you move, the hungrier you feel. You look down at Pete. Her eyes are still closed. She almost looks peaceful. Think about names? A name for the faceless mouse. No, she isn't faceless, only masked. The group she's working for, the one that tells her not to talk to you, the one keeping her nameless and anonymized. That group is keeping her personhood from her. By giving her a name, you can work towards removing that mask. The door opens again. Each time it does, you brace yourself for a new mouse, a stranger, to walk through the door. You brace yourself for your strategy to be completely overturned. But for your progress to be reset, and to feel overcome with despair as the stranger drives their blade deep into your flesh, to be cut into pieces, bones discarded and carried out in metal pails just like moss. But you can tell it's her again today. The mouse who will help you escape from this place. Her hood and boots are drenched with rain. She doesn't bother to shake any of it off. Instead, she looks right at you and makes a small sound like she's smiling under that mask. It's how you want to be greeted, so it's what you imagine that sound must have meant. You smile back. Forgive me for speaking, but I've still been thinking of what to call you. I don't know what kinds of things you like, so I mean, if I gave you a name, I think it should be something you like. So what do you... I do have a name. You pause, blinking twice. Ah, yes, yesterday you said you didn't, so I'm sorry, I jumped to conclusions. The mouse kneels down in front of Pete and draws her knife. I can't share it, we're all given sacred names by the highest power. She makes her incision. You don't watch the blood leak from Pete's arm, you can only look at the mask. We're not supposed to share our sacred names, but I think it's okay if I tell you what my name means. And then you can call me something based on that. Does that work? She's making concessions to you. You're compromising? I guess so. It's something small and trivial, but she's willing to negotiate with you. Ah, that's what that means, right. Which means you still have a chance of negotiating your freedom. What does your sacred name mean? Water from the heavens, where the highest power lives. I'm proud of my name, so if you call me something like that, I'll be happy. She wipes her knife. Pete is still, just still. Think of a name. Trying to think feels like wading through a deep pit of mud, but you finally land on something. Little raindrop. The mouse doesn't react, so you rush to explain. It's not a name, but a term of endearment, like sweetheart or pumpkin. Pumpkin? My grandmother used to call me that, back when I was a little tyke. You don't think about the ways Pete reminds you of your late grandmother. How old are you, little raindrop? She thinks for a moment. 16. Too young. She's far too young to be taking lives like this. Though you realize it's likely because she's so young that this group has been able to mold her into a killer. The mouse turns her attention back to the witch laying still on the floor beside you. It's hard to tell when a witch's heart has stopped beating. Can you help me again? You swallow hard and turn your head to finally face what's become of Pete. Sure. Day 6. You sit on the blood-soaked floor with ropes tied loosely around your body, though not so loose that you could shuffle your way out of them. The other mice had apparently scolded the little raindrop for leaving you unbound. It wasn't proper. She told you the highest power would be displeased and that she had no choice but to tie you up like before. Your eyelids are heavy, you feel hollow. Somehow you've ended up making negative progress. Today you're all alone. All alone meaning Pete's gone? Think about what happened yesterday. After confirming Pete's death, after you laid your head on her chest, remembering the first time you heard her faint heartbeat, despite the pounding of your own, you listened for that sound as hard as you could. But it wasn't there. You felt like your heart might stop too. Instead of continued beating, this pulsating inside your ribcage that you usually never paid any mind to. You curse it for its diligence. Pete's body was dissected the same as Moss, but you didn't only watch this time. The raindrop chatted to you as she went about her business. The conversation took your mind off the things she asked you to do. Her commands you obeyed without much hesitation. You're out of your mind. But everything you've been doing, all of your efforts, everything you've done is in order for you to escape and survive this ordeal. You have to survive this. Try to free yourself. You squirm lazily in place on the floor, but the ropes don't give an inch. You want to cry, but you're already dehydrated. You want to go home, but you can't leave this room. You want to die, but only if it'll be painless. You don't want to bleed like Moss and Pete did. Well, I mean, bleeding would kind of be painless. Kind of. You just get weaker and weaker and then go unconscious. You don't want to be reduced to chunks of meat and forgotten. It's late when the mouse arrives. So late that you almost believe she wouldn't come today. Your raindrop. Hello. A candlelight reflects off her mask, a terrifying figure. You smile weakly. I'm here because I was able to sneak away with some leftovers. Food? She brought you food? She's still on your side, your little raindrop from the heavens. She came here because she didn't want you to starve. Is it really okay to be giving me your food? Hope you've already eaten your fill. She kneels down in front of you, presenting a bowl of stew. You're eating one of the people that were in here. We're having 3 feasts in a row, so I don't mind sharing some. Thank you, little raindrop. Another sound comes from behind the mask, as if smiling at you again. You want to believe that. I can't untie you, so I'll feed you myself. She holds up a spoonful of the dark stew. Your eyes linger on the chunks of meat. It's Pete. Pete is in there. Oh, shit. You're doing what you have to in order to survive. It would be all meaningless if you were to die here like this. That's why you have to do whatever it takes. And she said 3 meals. You're the last meal. Day 11. Is that the right number? Are we actually on day 11, or has many days passed? For 5 days, your little raindrop came to visit and made small, horizontal incisions across your wrist. They bled as you chatted with her, and continued to chat in order to take your mind off the pain. You think you're probably going to hell. There are all sorts of conceptions of hell in the cultures you've studied, but they cold, fiery, transient, purgatory, or realm of eternal punishment. You weren't sure you believed in hell before now, but being faced with your imminent death, you want to believe there must be some kind of afterlife. You can't imagine whatever's next would be peaceful paradise with your family, your ancestors happily waiting for you. Surely some kind of retribution is coming for a coward like yourself. What's being done to you now isn't enough. Isn't it enough? The blood coagulates. Yeah, that's that word. And the wound scabs over. A fresh incision is made. Maybe the only part of you that will ever escape this place is what's already flowed down that drain. But each time the door opens, a little seed of hope is planted. She's here again. She smiles to greet you. I guess we'll just talk about everything. Talk about your journal. Little Raindrop asks you to tell her another story from your journal. You carry it with you on all of your adventures, a record full of notes on ancient civilization, things you've learned from various tribes in the region, and little things about their ways of life that have fascinated you. Anthropology is a broad subject. There are many exciting things to learn. You've shared some of those things with this mouse, who seems to match your excitement and interest in the wider world. She never left this village, so it's no surprise she would feel this way. Is this the same mouse that we encounter when we're playing through the main game? When you finish your story, she seems no closer to releasing you. You can feel your stories sway her heart, but still she does not budge. Field study? You explained to the little raindrop that you traveled here on a research expedition. When she asked about the purpose of your research, you realized Pete's photography would communicate it most clearly, so you had her dig in the witch's backpack to uncover her photo book. Pete was such an unpleasant person to be around, but her talents were unmatched. Seeing her photography again brings you to tears. You have to stop looking. The ropes around your body might be the only thing holding you together. Asked to be released? You've tried to lead the conversation towards your escape many times. You've even offered to take the little raindrop with you to show her the world. But there's only so hard you can push. The other mice tell her that the outside world is full of dangers. You've tried to show her it is instead full of wonders. Ironically, it's your wanderlust that landed you in danger. But that doesn't have to be true for this mouse. She doesn't have the courage to flee. And you fear you no longer have the strength. You admit defeat. Another day goes by, bleeding and talking later to the night. Little Raindrop yawns, then carefully picks up her candle. I'd better go to bed. You don't want her to leave. You don't want to be left alone another night in this dark, horrible, blood-stained room. Good night, Loam. See you tomorrow. You offer a weak good night and close your eyes. You don't know how much longer you'll last. You lasted till day 13. Maybe. You're feeling more lucid today. And the hopelessness has left you. You think it's probably your body's last hurrah. Your grandmother was like that too the day she had passed. You wonder if dying bodies can feel their expiration date coming on. You thought you'd be scared, but really you've spent these past 2 weeks in total fear. You're overdue for a sense of peace. Okay, I'm ready. He raises a knife to your arm and waits for your approval. You'll be forced to reopen an older wound with how many cuts have been left there. Why does it fall on you to signal the go-ahead? Made this whole thing feel like a slow suicide. It's enough to make you laugh, but the corners of your mouth only curl slightly at the thought before relaxing back in place. In the end, you do give her a nod and she cuts you and you bleed. You're so cold, but you don't have the energy to shiver. You wish she'd brought a blanket, but you can't ask for that now. You don't want to open your eyes again. You thought for a moment that you didn't want to, but... Raindrop? Could you take off your mask? She hesitates. Mask? Why? I've never seen your face. I like to see it once before it's too late. Okay. You stare at her for a moment. In this light, you were almost unsure, but there really is a person under there, not some monster. You worry you might be only fooling yourself, believing she was a victim like you. She's still a child whose view of the world has been warped in such a way that brings harm to others. She can't see the damage she's done. She hasn't had a chance to comprehend it before being put in this situation. Such beautiful round eyes. Oh, your eyes are nice too. You're able to muster a real laugh this time. You have to say more than that. Listen, little Raindrop. Once you prepare my body for the feast, we won't be able to talk anymore. That's okay. The feast is what is important. It's a great honor to be offered up by the highest power. You were chosen. There wasn't enough time. You couldn't get it through to her. There was never going to be a way to untangle these immoral beliefs of hers overnight. But if you leave it like this, she may never break free from them. You use all that's left of your strength to lean forward, letting your hand your head fall on her lap. Please learn everything you can about the world, little raindrop. This highest powers of yours isn't the only power that exists. It isn't the only way. He doesn't say anything. You continue. I'm sorry I've only ever said things that must have sounded like sacrilege to you, but I hope you can understand it one day. Come to understand it and escape from this place. That is my wish for you. You close your eyes again. You pray to every power you can think of to please let this mouse escape. Part 1 end. After the feast day, I thought the highest power wouldn't be passing down any more blessings for a while. 3 at once had been a lot of work. I had only ever managed 2 at a time before. I thought maybe the highest power was pleased with how well it went, and that's why it sent us a 4th. I hoped this new offering was as you were. If so, I'd go with the slow draining method again. I knew I wasn't supposed to talk to them. Meals are to be eaten, not spoken with. That's the rules. But the monkey was wide awake when I came in to start the draining ritual, and I wanted to see if she was a nice person like you were, Loam. I had a lot of fun talking to you, so I wondered if other outsiders would share their stories with me like you did. She said she was a member of the search party that was sent to look for a group of researchers who disappeared in the rainforest a month ago. A witch called Pete, a local rat who was hired as their guide, and the leader of the expedition, an anthropologist. Loam. I was happy to hear someone else say your name. I was happy to be able to talk to someone who knew about you, because I couldn't explain all of that stuff to any of my brothers without getting in trouble. But when I told the monkey that you and the others were already offered up by the highest power for the feast and that she didn't need to look for you anymore, she got really upset. Outsiders always have trouble accepting the highest power's will. They can't comprehend the honor being bestowed upon them. She struggled a lot, and I wasn't able to use the knife because of that. I am the only one assigned to the dining preparation house right now, so it's up to me to carry out the ritual. I had to come back later that night when she had calmed down. Things proceeded normally after that. I didn't try talking to her again. Think about Loam? Now I'm playing as a damn mouse. I wish you'd stop cutting me. Your words made me hesitate back then. You were always doing me favors, so for a moment I wanted to do as you asked. I shook my head. I have to do it. Who's telling you that you have to do this, little raindrop? Well, it's in preparation for the feast. I have to follow the steps. Even if what you're doing is wrong? You kept saying things like that. I didn't like how it made me feel, so I rejected it. It isn't wrong, I'm doing it properly. I wiped the knife clean, and when I looked back at you, you had such a sad expression. Killing people, cutting them up like this, it's always wrong. There's no justification that could ever make it right. And do you know why? I knew I couldn't trust anything outsiders had to say, but I was curious to hear your reasoning, so I asked. Why? Because life is precious. Each one of us is given only one life, and when it ends, that person is gone forever. It's a loss to you. It's a loss you can never get back, not even with magic. That's why you mustn't do things to end others' lives. It's wrong because it takes something away from this world that can never be returned. I tilted my head in thought. But you helped me before, unless that doesn't count. After that, you went quiet and didn't look at me anymore. I wonder why. Once the draining ritual was finished, it was time to get the monkey's body ready for the feast. I had trouble moving it, like usual, and I wanted to ask for help. But dining preparation is my responsibility, so my brothers aren't allowed to enter the house. I tried to move the bodies, even though they're heavy, because it's easier to work at the table. I've been doing this since I was 13, so I have a system. Usually I'll move them a piece at a time, but it's messy to do the cutting on the floor, so I end up doing bigger pieces. When you offer to help, I thought it was lucky. Because it would save me a lot of time and energy. It let me focus on the next step. I even felt refreshed by the end of it. Mercy from the highest power. Who knew I had 3 feasts to help prepare? But you're not here anymore. I wouldn't have any help when I had to move you. And when I realized that, I felt a little sad. Every offering from now on, I'd have to go back to moving all on my own. Thinking of it as another trial from the highest power sort of helped ease my mind, though. After finishing my work, I stood outside the rain and gazed up at the sky. No one would call me Little Raindrop anymore. I kept thinking things like that and remembered when you told me about how each life was precious. But there wasn't any way around it. You were an offering sent by the highest power. I couldn't have let you go. During the next feast, I felt kind of sick, so I couldn't eat very much. I prayed to the highest power, hoping it would send me some kind of sign, clear away my doubts. But I don't think it heard my prayer. My brothers encouraged me to keep praying and told me I would feel better soon. So that's what I did. Stopped praying. The next time an offering was sent, I couldn't bring myself to drive the knife into their body. I had been reading your journal a lot and kept thinking about everything you wrote in there. We aren't supposed to read books the highest power doesn't approve of, but I figured a handwritten journal doesn't really count as a book, so it was okay. But the more I read, I just felt sad that I couldn't ask you to explain things to me, because you were gone. I felt sad that I was already starting to forget the things you did explain. The stories you told weren't written in the journal. And since I felt stuck and couldn't do my work like usual, I ended up untying the ropes. I unlocked the door for them, and they ran outside right away. The others caught them, of course, and they were brought back and tied up again. We really dropped the ball this time. The highest power would have been so unhappy with us if we'd lost the offering. I nodded, feeling ashamed. Well, no harm done. Feast must go on. They patted me on the back with words of encouragement, but I knew I would have to return to my work after that. I knew I was going to have to take another life. Not feeling well today. Do you think someone else could do this in my place? You've been saying that a lot lately. We're all busy with our own tasks. If you really aren't feeling well today, then don't push yourself. Come back to it tomorrow. I'm sure you'll be blessed with a speedy recovery in order to get the job done in time for the feast. Brother, we're all counting on you. Okay, I'll rest for the day. I felt guilty for slacking off when everyone was working so hard. I'd always been pretty diligent because the highest power smiles upon diligent mice the most. I wanted to be smiled upon. I started to think that the reason I was feeling bad was because I kept bending the rules, but was what I was doing so wrong? I knew I shouldn't have let an offering go. It was like I was rejecting the highest power's divine will. But when I thought about going through with the whole preparation process again, I wanted to run away from it all. Follow that feeling. I mentioned I'd been reading your journal a lot, but actually I've been writing in it too. There were a lot of blank pages left over. I hope you don't mind me using them. You didn't get the chance to write anything about my village, so I thought I'd write about what life is like here instead. Each of us has a job to do. Farm work, cooking, laundry, the highest power assigns us sacred tasks, and the village will prosper as long as those tasks are fulfilled. We wear the same clothes, eat the same things, share the same beds, and put on the same masks. Our masks are a symbol of the highest power. We wear them to reflect its image, so that it knows we are its servants. Questioning the highest power is dangerous because it means we could lose its protection. I want our village to be protected, so I wasn't able to question it before. But your writing and your stories, you helped me look at things in a new way. If outsiders don't have the protection of the highest power, then how do all those thriving cities you told me about really exist? Is it possible to live a good life while abandoning our sacred tasks? I was too afraid to find out, so I picked up the knife and did what I was supposed to do. I don't think I ever told you this, but someone else was assigned to this task before me, an older brother. He was killed and the offering escaped. I was the one the highest power chose to replace him. It was hard work, but I was happy to have a purpose. I was happy to be chosen back then. But now, I think you were right, that life is precious. You're gone and you'll never come back. And it wasn't just you. How much has been lost from this world with every feast? I started to feel worse and worse about taking part in it. I stopped eating the meat, but I couldn't get out of fulfilling my task. Unless I were to go somewhere outside the highest power's reach. One night I cut a hole in the chain link fence and stepped outside the village for the first time. I looked up past a thick canopy to the vast starry sky and felt so small. I thought about the scary stories I'd been told, what happens to mice in the outside world. If I continued beyond that fence, I'd be entering the realm of dangerous predators who would eat a mouse without a second thought. Maybe that's why my village became what it is, a place where instead mice are the ones to feast on others. All while under the protection of the highest power. I stood under the stars for a long time to see if I'd be able to endure it. And then I retreated back to the safety of my village. Think about Loam? Why wouldn't you listen to me? It was the first and only time you ever raised your voice at me. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I'm not feeling well, so I shouldn't take it out on you. It isn't your fault. I just really wanted to go home. You have to stay for the feast. You buried your face in your knees to let out a muffled scream. That scream became sobs, then whimpers. I'm sorry. It's just so hard not to break down. I was surprised by the way your voice cracked as you spoke. You were making a lot of noises I didn't expect from you. So, not knowing what else to do, I tried reaching out and patting your shoulder. There. My words worked like a charm. You stopped whimpering. Except, I understand it now. It wasn't acceptance, it was resignation. You felt resigned to your fate. It was painful having to die, but you knew you couldn't avoid it. So you endured the pain as best you could, up to the very end. That's what I'm doing now, so I understand, Loam. 2 years later. I think we might encounter a certain fox. Not fox, wolf. A wolf shows up here. Moxie ain't showing up here. It's Trick showing up here. I thought about leaving for so long. What always stopped me was I still feel like I don't know anything about the outside world. If I really ran away, where would I sleep? What would I eat? Would anyone protect me? I collected all the information I could. I talked to so many outsiders over the past 2 years. And when I could get away with it, I'd bring them to the hole I made in the fence and push them through. I turned away more and more of these so-called offerings from the highest power, but I was never punished for it. I don't think the highest power really cares anymore, if it ever did to begin with. Something new that occurred to me was leaving meant I wouldn't be able to help anyone else escape. Both the outsiders that get drawn in for the feasts and my brothers, my sacred task would be resigned to the next available mouse, reassigned. But I realized if I kept worrying about that, I'd be trapped here, continue to take the lives of others until the day I died. You don't want that for me, do you, Loam? This way, quickly. Ah, there it is. The last person I helped escape was a wolf. I never met a wolf before. Their smile filled with such kindness reminded me of yours. Not often that people give someone like me a warm welcome. It's nice. It was nice while it lasted. I couldn't tell if they understood what the feast was. They seemed pretty naive, but they were traveling the world despite that. You've been to many places, haven't you? You've always thought about going far away? No, I've always thought about going far away, but I've been too scared. Although if someone like you managed to survive, I could probably. Someone like me? Am I getting picked on? Sorry, thanks. Because of you, I feel like I can go far too. I gathered my courage while I waited for nightfall. With a small bag of supplies and your journal in hand, I faced the same exit that I pushed so many outsiders through. I still felt so uncertain, but it was time. Escape. I slipped past the fence as quietly as I could and made my way into the rainforest. I used a map you had tucked inside your journal. My village wasn't marked on there, but I knew I'd be able to find my way. I'll travel far, far away from this place and meet all sorts of people and learn all sorts of new and wonderful things. I'll record everything I can in this journal for you, and I won't have to hurt anyone ever again. I'll be an outsider too from now on. I discarded my mask and ran as fast as I could, and thought about what name I'll ask to be called from now on. Yeah, you should choose the name Rain. I guess that's it. So this mouse does end up escaping. So it's a nice continuation and backstory to the little story that was told when we were following Trick and her adventures. So, yeah. Ah, you met up with Moxie, I think. Probably Moxie. Do we know this character? I don't know if we know this character. We might know this character, I can't remember. It does suck that there wasn't a happy ending for Loam. Really sucks that he couldn't get through to her. But after a little while, it was clear that this was the same mouse that let Trick escape. So there's no way that Loam was making it out of that. I don't think. There was a way. Technically, she could have let him escape, and only 2 of the offerings, and she could have stayed there until Trick shows up, and then escapes after that. But either way, that was nice. Really dark, but yeah, we'll leave this episode here. I can't wait for the continuation and the conclusion for the main game. But yeah, leave a like, hit the subscribe, leave a comment if you like. You can check this game out for yourself. It's on Itch.io. Okay, we ain't done. There was more. There's more in here. So, characters. We can look at all the characters. We have Trick. We already knew Trick. Moss, the rat, 27, lively and charismatic guy before his untimely demise. Well, how it is. Pete, photographer, late 50s. I don't know what this word, or even how to this word, so this. Her talents have made her quite arrogant. Loam, anthropologist, 32, a human who tries to see the good in everyone. And Drop is her name, cult survivor. A mouse raised in the Wormwood. The other cult members aren't her biological siblings. Are any of them her biological family, though? Like, was she born and raised in this thing? Or was she, like, taken from outside? Is the question. We have some of the illustrations in here, but we saw that while playing through the game. Concept art. Elon, will you help me with the commentary for this section? Commentary? We have to commentate this? That's what the original drawing. Clothes look like. Old drawing here, okay. Well, at least me so I could shave. Okay. Epilogue. Assemble, brothers. Now is the hour of roll call. Brother, here. Brother, here. Brother, here, here. Brother? Brother, I regret to inform you. One of our dear brothers has lost their way and has yet to return to us? But which one? Speak if you have any information. One afternoon of sleuthing later. I see, so there is no one to take care of the dining preparations, should an offering come our way. Won't the highest power be displeased in us if we are unable to hold a feast in its honor? O highest power, should our brother never return, we ask that you reassign the sacred task to another. I don't want to do it. I mean, wasn't our dear missing brother consistently suffering from unexpected illnesses? Their task seemed hard. Come to think of it, more and more of the offerings have managed to disappear in recent years. Yes, how difficult that task must have been. Yeah, I don't really want to be responsible for doing it either. Sounds too hard. Then shall we search the jungle for our missing brother? No. Or maybe. They didn't even search for you, little raindrop. That's so displeasing. And I didn't want them to, so I left a note. I guess they missed it, though. What did your note say? Please stop eating offerings, signed the highest power. What? Would that have worked? I was able to suggest a lot of changes to our customs in years since you were gone. Formally welcoming them to our village, being friendly with them before bringing them to the dining preparation house. Your customs were so flexible, couldn't you have suggested they cancel the feast before killing me? But everyone was looking forward to it. Well, if they stop because they can't find a replacement for me, then it's for the best. What part of this is for the best? The feasts were important to everyone. I couldn't always get around that. But they'd cancel it just because no one else wants to put in the work? Little Raindrop, you do understand that this means you could have released me at any time, yes? You sure are shouting a lot. I thought everything you did was under the threat of violence and repercussions. Was there no cult leader coercing you into doing all of this? We were all equal under the eyes of the highest power. I'm sorry, Loam. Give back all the blood I sacrificed. I want to live. Maybe there's a way to bring back Loam. I don't know. There is magic in this world, and there is strong enough magic, somehow, to stop the various creatures in this world from transforming into their humanoid form. So, to keep them in their animal-looking form, so they can't talk or look human or whatever, and so they can be eaten. If there's such a magic that exists, and there's magic that exists that's able to make a train exist in multiple places simultaneously, to basically be a teleport bridge train between multiple locations everywhere on the planet, there has to be magic to, like, bring people back. Maybe it's been lost, maybe it's been forgotten or whatever, but to atone for what she did, if she has the capability of magic, which I believe other people other than witches have, but the witches have made it in such a way that people don't know that they have that, then she would find a way to do that, to atone for killing all the people that she's killed. But either way, we'll leave this episode here. Leave a like, hit the subscribe, leave a comment if you like. Let me check the developer notes real quick because I forgot. Thanks for playing. Been around since chapter 3, yes. 2016, really, damn. Because I only discovered this game series, like, recently-ish, when I started playing it. It took me 10 years to make a game about her. I didn't want to think about that. Or I don't want to think about that. Okay, I feel like this game in particular is made for fans both new and old. Like, if you've never played any of my games before, you were probably confused by the random character in the credit sequence. But if you already knew Drop, I think this story can deepen your appreciation of her. In the years since introducing her, I've been thinking about what Drop's life was like in the cult and why she helped Trick escape. I wanted someone to teach her what she was doing was wrong. Someone who became a friend but still ended up dying, and that person's death would bring her to disentanglement. That person is Loam. He ended up being way more interesting than I first imagined too. I love that this coward with questionable morals is the one to set Drop on the right path. Not questionable morals. He literally did everything that anybody else in that situation would have done. Drop on the right path. He can't bring himself to see Drop as an enemy, and he dies for it. Delicious tragedy. Well, there was no other way out of it. I don't think he would have survived it no matter what he tried to do. To be fair, if he killed her, he might have actually survived. Maybe. At least he would have had a weapon, and the door would have been unlocked. So he could have, solid snaked his way out of there, but who knows. I don't think he had the constitution for doing something like that. My first concept of this game focused a lot more on interactions with the cult members, but I'm actually glad I avoided showing them that much. Telling the story from Loam's perspective and switching to Drop, having her turn out to be the one the title is referring to, or referencing, yes, the escape from this place, was a lot more fun for me to write. Not that I don't love writing the Wormwood mice, but they are pretty one-note, since their whole lives revolve around their god. Anyway, this game came together in only a week or two. Well, that's very impressive. And I'm really proud of that. I feel like I have so many stories to tell. You need to tell more stories. It's amazing when I can deliver a brand new one this quickly. Okay. Either way, I'll see everybody in the next video.